Thank you. And I want to introduce our final speaker this morning, who will help us continue to be loud. I have known and worked with Seattle City Council President Tim Burgess since he first came into office about 8 years ago. You know, when I first met him, I thought, sort of former law enforcement, a very reserved exterior, asks tough questions, doesn't back down, all good things, right? And I have certainly admired how he stands and has his own convictions when it comes to supporting victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. But as I have gotten to know him better, I have really been touched by his compassion, his conviction about doing the right thing, and really am struck by his big heart. He's strong and he's open, and it has been a pleasure to work with him, particularly as we've talked about how do we talk about this issue and here at the Be Loud Breakfast. So I want to invite you to listen to Tim Burgess and let you become a little bit more acquainted with the person I've gotten to know. So Councilmember Burgess, it's an honor to have you here, and please help me welcome Seattle City President Tim Burgess.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. You are a strong, inspiring, and passionate leader in our community, and thank you for making Seattle and King County a better place. Good morning. Before you take out your checkbook or your credit card, I want to tell another story, my story. This is not a story that I talk about in public very often. In fact, I've only done it twice before. But I want to tell my story so that you understand the power of your gift this morning, the power of your gift to change a life. I was standing in the hallway at the top of our stairs when my father and my teenage brother got into a verbal fight. They were shouting at each other. And then it got physical. My brother pushed my dad down and jumped on his chest, breaking his ribs. I was terrified. I ran down the stairs and out to the front porch, screaming for the police. I was 6 years old. That was not the first nor the last incident of violence in my family growing up. We lived with frequent verbal and emotional abuse. I'd often run to my room and crawl into bed and pull the covers up over my head. I thought I would be safe there, but I wasn't. When I was 12, from outside my family, I was the victim of sexual assault. That is a trauma that is devastating and long-lasting. And it continued for too long. I didn't know what to do. The violence and the emotional and sexual abuse took a toll. But you'd never know it. In my mid-20s, from the outside, everything seemed okay. I had a great job. I had great friends. I was successful. But inside, I was caught in a downward spiral of anger, loneliness, and growing isolation. In some of the darkest times, I planned how I would end my life. The feelings of shame and fear were powerful, almost debilitating. You're all alone, and you're afraid. I clearly needed help, and thankfully, I was able to get it. Professional therapy, exactly like the services that KSARC offers to its clients, professional therapy saved my life. Over a period of several years, I worked with my therapists. They heard my story, and they did not reject me. As they showed compassion, I learned to be compassionate with myself and with that little boy who grew up so scared. I learned that I'm not defined by the narrative I lived through as a child, nor by my despair as a young adult. My therapist sat with me week after week, heard my story without recoiling. They walked with me through immense darkness, helped me to reveal and remember more and more. In fact, that office became my sanctuary of healing. I learned to be vulnerable as I told my secrets. In fact, unlocking the power of my secrets by telling them is one of the most freeing and healing steps I have ever taken. I think it's especially important for men to understand this. Far too often, we remain silent and suppress the pain. We falsely think, no one else has experienced this, so I better keep my mouth shut. Well, that's not true, men. It's okay to speak out. In fact, it's necessary that we speak out. Back in the 1970s, the stigma associated with seeking help was so strong that even though I had full medical benefits, I never once submitted an insurance claim. I paid for my therapy in cash. I didn't want anyone to know the darkness that I was moving through. We've made great progress since then, and we need to make sure that everyone knows it's okay to seek help. Because when people get the help they need, they find healing and they're able to contribute to society. By being here this morning, all of you are helping to communicate that message. The week I turned 28 years of age, I met Jolene. And it wasn't long before we were married. Jolene loved me and taught me how to love. She walked with me through personal growth, showing me how to forgive others and myself. She offered patience, tenderness, and forgiveness. We made a home, and we have a strong family today with 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and in September, we'll celebrate 37 years of marriage. Thank you, Jolene. In my work today, I'm frequently reminded that I wasn't the only kid to grow up scared. When I hear about trafficked children or teenage moms in crisis or kids who can't learn in school because of the chaos at home, I want with every fiber of my being to intervene and make it better. And as a city, we can and we must. It breaks my heart that we utterly fail so many people dealing with sexual assault. And if you were to talk with Mary Ellen and hear the stories of the people they have to turn away because of a lack of resources, you would understand. I can stand here this morning and tell you that it's possible to break the terrifying grip of trauma, to face it head on, and to find healing. This is the good work, the vital work that KSARC does day in and day out. So as survivors, the truth is we are not alone. In our courage to be vulnerable, we find strength. We find ourselves, our truth selves, and we find others like you who lend support. And that's why it's so important that we stand up and be loud. Last year at this breakfast, I was deeply moved by the number of people who stood up if they knew someone affected by sexual assault. It was a powerful demonstration of caring and support. Again, this year, we want to give you the opportunity to be heard. If you know someone who has been affected by sexual assault, a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a colleague, someone affected by sexual assault, will you please join me in standing to honor him or her? I'm standing with you. It's very important that we stand united against sexual assault. And our simple act of standing this morning is showing our unity, our understanding, and our support. Look around. There's about 1,000 people in this room this morning, and we are being loud against sexual assault. Thank you. Please be seated. You've heard some personal stories this morning and some facts about KSARC's work. I want to ask you to join me in supporting KSARC and the many women and men, boys and girls who every day are helped by this very important organization. Together, we have the privilege of unlocking the grace of giving by opening our hearts, of extending ourselves through our financial giving to help another person. So grab an envelope and give with a grateful heart. Give for people like Melissa, like me, and most importantly, give for the next person who will need the services of KSARC. I know very well how your gift will help. Believe me, I do. I'm standing here today because nearly 40 years ago, I was able to receive the professional therapy that I needed to defeat the stigma and defeat the pain and horror of sexual assault. Let's make certain that no one is ever turned away from these services. Thank you very much.